The Bridesmaidzilla conspiracy. I should have known my wedding was doomed the moment my bridesmaid Vanessa showed up to the engagement party wearing white. Not just white. A full-on floor length. Could absolutely pass for a wedding dress, white. Complete with a tiara. It's not white. It's winter frost. She'd insisted when my sister Morgan shot her a death glare. Besides, I bought it before Jake proposed to Lex. It's vintage Vera Wong. That was Vanessa in a nutshell. Beautiful, dramatic, and perpetually the main character in everyone else's story, including, apparently, my engagement party. Jake, my almost husband, had laughed off. Come on, babe. Nobody's going to mistake Vanessa for the bride when you're standing next to her. He meant it as a compliment to me. But something in Vanessa's eyes flashed when he said it. I should have paid attention to that flash. Instead, I'd knocked back another glass of champagne and told myself I was imagining things. After all, Vanessa had been my friend since our freshman year dorm days at UCLA. She'd held my hair back during the great tequila disaster of 2016. She'd helped me move apartments 3 times. She'd even introduced me to Jake at her brother's 4th of July barbecue 2 years ago. Which is why, despite the white dress incident and her suggesting we have just a small ceremony, when I mentioned wanting 150 guests, and her sending me links to more flattering wedding dresses after I'd already bought mine, I still asked her to be one of my bridesmaids. Not the maid of honor. I wasn't completely clueless. That role went to Morgan, my sister and personal bullshit detector. But Vanessa was definitely in the wedding party. You're making a mistake, Morgan told me bluntly when I showed her the bridesmaid lineup. Vanessa's had a thing for Jake since forever. That's ridiculous, I'd said. She introduced us. Yeah, and she's regretted it ever since. Haven't you noticed how she constantly finds reasons to text him? I hadn't actually, but once Morgan mentioned it, I couldn't stop noticing. The hey, what was the name of that restaurant again? Texts. The my car's making a weird noise, any advice? Texts. The meme sent at 11 p.m. that absolutely couldn't wait until morning. Still, I trusted Jake completely, and I wanted to trust Vanessa. That was my first mistake. The real trouble began 3 months before the wedding, at what should have been a perfectly pleasant bridesmaid dress shopping expedition. I picked a simple style that would flatter everyone. A knee-length chiffon in emerald green that looked amazing on all skin tones. The plan was to meet at Nordstrom, try on the dresses, place the order, then get lunch. Simple, right? Enter Vanessa, 20 minutes late, clutching a Starbucks and wearing sunglasses indoors like a celebrity dodging paparazzi. Sorry, crazy morning, she said, not sounding sorry at all. I had a breakfast thing that ran late. Morgan raised an eyebrow. A breakfast thing? At 11:30. Brunch, whatever. Vanessa waved her hand dismissively. Where are these dresses? I hope they're not too bridesmaid. Why? I held up the sample. What do you think? Vanessa's face fell. Oh, green. You said green was your favorite color, I reminded her. Did I? I think I'm more into blues now. She sighed dramatically. But it's your wedding. Morgan rolled her eyes so hard I worried they might get stuck. Maybe we could look at some blue options? Vanessa suggested. I brought some ideas. And then, I swear to God, she pulled out a binder. A color-coded binder with tabs and everything, full of dress options that were all completely different from what we discussed. Strapless, floor length, sequin blue numbers that looked suspiciously bridal. These would be so much more flattering on me, she explained, flipping through the pages. And photographs better. I know this amazing photographer, by the way. Much better than the one you booked. I could introduce you. Morgan accidentally spilled her coffee on Vanessa's binder. We stuck with the green dresses. 2 months before the wedding, Vanessa texted me. Need to talk. 911. Meet at Groundwork Coffee in 20. I panicked, thinking something terrible had happened. I canceled my lunch with a client. I'm a freelance graphic designer, and this particular client was both lucrative and impatient, and rushed to the coffee shop. Vanessa was sitting at an outside table, looking perfectly calm and scrolling through her phone. "What's the emergency?" I asked, slightly out of breath. She looked up, confused. "Emergency? Your text said 911. All right." She put her phone down. "I saw Jake's bachelor party itinerary, and we need to talk about it." I stared at her. "That's the emergency? They're going to Vegas. For 3 days." Her eyes were wide, like she was telling me he was planning to sell a kidney. "I know. Jake told me weeks ago. And you're okay with it?" She leaned forward. "With all those strip clubs and pool parties?" "It's Vegas, not the end of civilization. I trust Jake." I signaled the barista for a coffee. I was going to need it. "Well, I wouldn't be comfortable with it," she said primly. "In fact, I was talking to Jake yesterday, and he seemed to have reservations too." I frowned. "You were talking to Jake yesterday? About his bachelor party?" "He called me," she said quickly, "about groomsmen stuff. The party just came up. That was lie number 1, I later discovered. Jake hadn't called her. She'd shown up at his office with lunch, just to catch up. Anyway," she continued, "I think you should suggest something closer to home. I found some great brewery tour options." She pulled out her phone to show me. "Vanessa," I said slowly, "why do you care so much about Jake's bachelor party? I'm just looking out for you." She reached across the table to squeeze my hand. "That's what bridesmaids do." "No," I thought. "That's what psychotically controlling people do." But I just smiled tightly and said, "Thanks, but it's handled." The bachelor party happened exactly as planned. Jake went to Vegas with his brothers and college friends. They gambled, went to a few clubs, got sunburned by the pool, and came back with hangovers and no regrets. And while he was gone, Vanessa texted him 17 times. I know because I checked his phone when he got back. Something I'd never done before and felt terrible about. Most of the texts were just checking in, or sending links to news stories about bachelor party disasters. One was a selfie at midnight with the caption, "Missing your face at trivia tonight." Jake had responded politely, but briefly to the first few, then stopped altogether. When I asked him about it, as casually as I could manage, he looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, she's been acting weird lately," he admitted. "I didn't want to say anything because she's your friend, but it's getting a little much." "Morgan thinks she has feelings for you," I said, watching his reaction carefully. He winced. "I was afraid of that. Last week she stopped by my office with homemade cookies. Said they were for the whole team. But she waited around until everyone else had left." "What did you do?" I thanked her, mentioned how excited I was about marrying you about 50 times, then said I had a meeting. He took my hand. "Look, do you want me to talk to her? Set some boundaries?" I shook my head. "Let me handle it." But the truth was, I had no idea how to handle it. Confront her directly? Phase her out quietly? With the wedding just weeks away, it felt like a bomb that could detonate all my carefully made plans. So I did what any conflict-avoidant millennial would do. I ignored the problem and hoped it would go away. That was my second mistake. 6 weeks before the wedding, I discovered that our venue, a gorgeous converted warehouse in downtown Los Angeles that we'd booked a year in advance, had accidentally canceled our reservation. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Parker," the venue coordinator said over the phone, sounding genuinely distressed. "Someone called to cancel on your behalf last month. They had all your information, booking number, date, even the security password." My stomach dropped. Who called? A woman named Vanessa Miller? She said she was your wedding planner and that you decided to change venues. I nearly dropped my phone. I don't have a wedding planner, and Vanessa is just a bridesmaid. There was an uncomfortable silence on the other end. "Can we rebook?" I asked desperately. "It's only 6 weeks away. We're fully booked through October," she said apologetically. "But I can refund your deposit, of course." This was clearly a miscommunication. A miscommunication? This was sabotage. I called Jake immediately. Too angry to even cry yet. "I'll kill her," he said simply when I finished explaining. Actually, no. Morgan will kill her, and I'll help hide the body. That made me laugh, despite everything. What are we going to do about the venue? We'll figure it out. But first, you need to talk to Vanessa. I know. I took a deep breath. Can you come with me? Absolutely not, he said firmly. If I see her right now, I might actually commit a felony. Take Morgan. So I did. We invited Vanessa to meet us at a quiet wine bar, strategically chosen because A, it was public enough that Morgan wouldn't actually murder her, and B, I was definitely going to need alcohol for this conversation. Vanessa showed up looking like she was attending a job interview. Blazer, pearls, hair pulled back in a severe bun. Very unlike her usual boho chic style. What's the big emergency? She asked, sliding into the booth. Your text sounded serious. I looked her straight in the eye. The venue called. They said you canceled our reservation. She didn't even blink. What? That's crazy. Why would I do that? That's exactly what we'd like to know, Morgan said, her voice dangerously quiet. There must be some mistake, Vanessa insisted. Maybe someone pretended to be me? Identity theft is so common these days. They had our security password, I said. Only Jake, me, and the bridesmaids knew that. Vanessa's eyes darted around, like she was looking for an escape route. Well, maybe one of the other bridesmaids. Stop, Morgan snapped. Just stop lying. Vanessa's face crumpled, and for a second, I thought she was going to confess. Instead, she burst into tears, loud, messy, scene-causing tears. I can't believe you're accusing me of this, she wailed. After everything I've done for your wedding, I've spent hundreds of dollars on your bridal shower, your bachelorette party, that ugly green dress. So you admit you hate the dress? Morgan interjected. Of course I hate it. Vanessa wiped her eyes, smearing mascara across her cheek. It makes me look like a swamp monster, but I was going to wear it anyway, because that's what friends do. People at nearby tables were starting to stare. The server approached cautiously, then thought better of it and retreated. Vanessa, I said, keeping my voice steady. I need you to tell me the truth. Did you cancel our venue? She sobbed harder. No, I would never. Then who did? I don't know. She grabbed a napkin and blew her nose loudly. Maybe it was the universe, telling you that you're rushing into this marriage. And there it was, the real issue. This isn't about the venue, is it? I asked quietly. This is about Jake. Vanessa froze mid-sob. Something shifted in her eyes. The tears stopped abruptly, like someone had turned off a faucet. What about Jake? She asked cautiously. Morgan made a disgusted noise. Just admit you're in love with him already. Vanessa's face went through a series of expressions so quickly I could barely track them. Shock, denial, guilt, and finally, defiance. Fine, she said, straightening up. Yes, I have feelings for Jake. I always have, since before you even met him. You introduced us. I reminded her, incredulous. A momentary lapse in judgment, she sniffed. I didn't think it would last. Jake needs someone who understands his ambition, his potential, not someone who's content designing logos for juice bars. I design for a lot more than juice bars, but that seemed beside the point. So you canceled our venue? I asked, needing to hear her say it. She shrugged, all pretense gone. It wasn't even that hard. I just called and said we found somewhere better. Honestly, I was doing you a favor. That place is totally overdone. 3 of my Instagram followers got married there last year. I stared at her, speechless. Morgan, however, had plenty to say, most of it unprintable. When she finally ran out of creative profanity, Vanessa simply rolled her eyes. You're both overreacting. It's just a venue. And honestly, Alexis, if your relationship can't handle a little wedding stress, what's going to happen when you face real problems? I stood up, suddenly calm. You're right about one thing, Vanessa. This was a test of our friendship, and you failed. Don't come to the wedding. Don't contact me again. We're done. I walked out, Morgan right behind me, leaving Vanessa sitting alone with the bill for 3 untouched glasses of wine. Only when we got to the car did I finally break down. What am I going to do? I sobbed. We have no venue, 6 weeks until the wedding, and invitations have already gone out. Morgan hugged me tight. We'll figure it out. The important thing is that the human incarnation of a red flag is out of your life. She was right about that, at least. When I calmed down enough to check my phone, I had 12 missed calls from Vanessa and 1 text message. You're making a huge mistake. Jake doesn't love you like I would. I've been there for him in ways you don't even know about. That was when the real panic set in. I showed Jake the text as soon as I got home. What does she mean? She's been there for you? I asked, hating the tremor in my voice. Jake read the message, his face darkening. She's implying something happened between us. It didn't. He looked me in the eye. I swear, Lex, nothing ever happened. I believed him, mostly, but Vanessa's words had planted a seed of doubt, which was exactly what she wanted. Then why would she say that? Jake ran a hand through his hair. Because she's unhinged? Because she wants to sabotage us? I don't know. He sat down on the couch, pulling me next to him. Listen, about 6 months ago, she did try something. My heart stopped. What kind of something? Nothing happened, he said quickly. But she showed up at my office late one night when everyone else had left. Said she needed to talk about your birthday gift. Then she got emotional. Said she had feelings for me. Tried to kiss me. And I stopped her, obviously. Told her I was in love with you. And that she needed to respect our relationship. He squeezed my hand. I should have told you then. But she seemed so embarrassed. She promised it would never happen again. Said she'd been going through a rough time. I believed her. I absorbed this, trying to decide how I felt. On one hand, I wished he'd told me immediately. On the other, I understood why he hadn't. Is that why she's doing all this? Revenge because you rejected her? Maybe. Jake looked troubled. Or maybe she convinced herself I have feelings for her too. Delusional thinking, you know? I thought about all the little things I'd noticed over the past months. Her constant presence, the texts, the ways she'd insert herself into our plans. The dress at the engagement party suddenly seemed less like cluelessness and more like a declaration of war. We need to find a new venue, I said finally, forcing myself to focus on practical matters. And we need to tell the other bridesmaids what happened. Jake nodded, and change the locks, and probably hire security for the wedding. I laughed, but he looked serious. I'm not kidding. She's already sabotaged our venue. What's next? As it turned out, he was right to worry. The next morning, I woke up to an email from our caterer. They'd received a cancellation request and were confirming before refunding our substantial deposit. Then our photographer called, confused about a rescheduling email I had supposedly sent. The florist had questions about the new instructions for all white arrangements instead of the colorful wildflowers we'd selected. She's systematically dismantling our wedding, I told Jake, panic rising. How does she even have all these contacts? The shared planning spreadsheet, he realized. The one you made for the bridal party. Of course. I'd created a detailed Google sheet with every vendor, contact number, and contract detail, thinking it would help my bridesmaids assist with planning. Instead, I'd handed Vanessa a blueprint for destruction. I spent the entire day contacting vendors, changing passwords, and creating new security questions. Jake called his friend who worked in cybersecurity, who helped us lock down our accounts, and suggested we file a police report. For what? I asked, being a psychotic ex-friend. For harassment and fraud. The friend said seriously, you'll want documentation if this escalates. If this escalates, it was already a 5-alarm fire. That evening, as we were stress-eating takeout Thai food and making lists of what else needed to be secured, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Is this Alexis Parker? I'm a server at the Brentwood. I think you should know your fiancé is here with another woman. They looked pretty cozy. My stomach lurched. Jake was sitting right across from me, chopsticks in hand, looking exhausted after our day of damage control. I showed him the text. Vanessa. He nodded grimly. Has to be. She's trying to make you doubt me. I texted back. Nice try, Vanessa. Jake is sitting right next to me. The reply came instantly. Not Vanessa. Just thought you should know. They've been meeting here for weeks. Then a photo appeared. Jake and Vanessa, heads close together, at what looked like a restaurant table. He was smiling at something she was saying. What the hell? I showed him. Jake squinted at the image. That's from months ago. Remember that lunch meeting I had with my department? Vanessa showed up coincidentally and inserted herself. Taylor took this picture. He scrolled through his phone and showed me the original group photo. Jake, Vanessa, and 6 other people around a large table. She'd cropped out everyone else. This is getting scary, I said quietly. Jake nodded. I think we need to get the police involved. We filed a report that night. The officer who took our statement was sympathetic, but not particularly hopeful. Unless she makes direct threats, there's not much we can do, he explained. But having the report on file is good if you need a restraining order later. A restraining order. For my college friend. How had things gone so wrong? The next few weeks were a blur of wedding salvage operations. My sister and mother turned into wedding planning commandos, calling in favors and finding us a new venue, a beachfront property in Malibu that was actually more beautiful than our original choice. Our friends rallied around us. Jake's best man, a chef, found us a new caterer through his restaurant connections. My college roommate's husband, a professional DJ, offered his services as a wedding gift. Even my usually uninvolved father got into the spirit, handling the rental company and bar service arrangements. Through it all, Vanessa continued her campaign of disruption. She created fake negative reviews for our wedding vendors online. She sent anonymous emails to guests claiming the wedding was canceled. She even showed up at my parents' house one night, demanding to speak to me about the terrible mistake I was making. My dad, bless him, turned the sprinklers on. 5 days before the wedding, when things were finally settling into place, I received a manila envelope at my office. No return address, just my name typed on a label. Inside was a USB drive and a note that read, "You deserve to know the truth before you say, I do." I should have thrown it away. I knew who it was from. I knew it was another attempt to sabotage my happiness. But curiosity is a powerful force. I plugged the USB into my work computer, in retrospect, a terrible cybersecurity decision, and found a single video file. With shaking hands, I clicked play. It was security camera footage, date stamped 3 weeks earlier, showing the entrance to what looked like a hotel. The quality was grainy, but I could clearly make out Jake walking in with a woman. They were talking intently, standing close together. The woman turned slightly, and I caught a glimpse of her profile, Vanessa. My heart stopped. Then, forcing myself to breathe, I kept watching. They spoke for another minute. Jake seemed to be arguing, gesturing emphatically. Vanessa stepped closer, put her hand on his chest. He immediately backed away, shaking his head firmly, then walked out of frame. Vanessa stood there for a moment, then followed him. The video ended. I felt sick, not because I believed anything had happened between them, but because I realized how far Vanessa was willing to go, secretly recording Jake, stalking him, and trying to use selective evidence to destroy our relationship. I called Jake immediately. I need to know what happened at the Westfield Hotel 3 weeks ago, I said without preamble. There was a pause. How do you know about that? Vanessa sent me security camera footage. He swore under his breath. She's been recording me? That's... He stopped, took a deep breath. I was meeting a client there for lunch. She must have followed me. She approached me in the lobby, said she needed to talk, that she was sorry about everything. And I told her to leave me alone, that I'd file harassment charges if she contacted either of us again. His voice softened. Lex, I swear that's all it was. 2 minutes in a public lobby with security cameras everywhere. I believed him, but I also knew what the video looked like without context, which is exactly why Vanessa had sent it. I think we should go stay with my parents until the wedding, I said. She clearly knows your schedule, and I don't trust her. Jake agreed immediately. That night, we packed enough for a week and drove to my parents' house in Orange County, deliberately taking a circuitous route to make sure we weren't followed. This is ridiculous, I said as Jake checked the rearview mirror for the third time. We're acting like we're in a thriller movie. Bride versus Bridesmaidzilla, Jake suggested, coming this summer to theaters near you. I laughed despite everything, starring Jennifer Lawrence as the unsuspecting bride and Glenn Close from Fatal Attraction as the psychotic bridesmaid. He finished. We spent the ride casting the rest of our dramatic life story. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the knot in my stomach loosen slightly. Whatever Vanessa threw at us, we would handle it together. Or so I thought. 3 days before the wedding, Jake's brother Sam called with news that made my blood run cold. Don't freak out, he began, which is never how you want a conversation to start. But Vanessa showed up at Jake's bachelor party last weekend. What? I nearly dropped the phone. That was over a month ago. Why are you just telling me now? Jake made us promise not to, Sam admitted. He said you had enough to worry about. I looked across the room at Jake, who was helping my mom assemble welcome bags for out-of-town guests. He caught my eye and mouthed, "Everything okay?" I shook my head. What happened at the party, Sam? She showed up at the club on the second night. Acted like it was a total coincidence. Most of the guys didn't even know about the drama, so they were just like, cool. One of the bridesmaids is here. And Jake. Jake tried to ignore her, but she kept buying rounds for everyone, getting friendlier as the night went on. Sam hesitated. Around 2 a.m., she cornered Jake, tried to get him to dance, got pretty handsy. He shut it down immediately, told her to leave. Did she? Yeah, but she was pissed. Started telling the guys that Jake had been secretly meeting up with her for months, that they had a connection you wouldn't understand. My throat tightened. Did anyone believe her? Are you kidding? We all know Jake's been crazy about you since day one. Sam paused. But that's not why I'm calling. One of the guys, Brett, just told me she's been texting him, asking questions about the wedding. Where exactly in Malibu? What time? Security details. A chill ran down my spine. She's planning something. That's what I'm worried about. Sam's voice was grim. Jake would kill me for telling you this right before the wedding, but I thought you should know. I thanked him, hung up, and immediately motioned Jake outside. Why didn't you tell me Vanessa crashed your bachelor party? I demanded. He winced. I didn't want to add to your stress. I handled it. She's been texting your friends, asking about wedding details. Jake's expression hardened. I'll call the security company, have them add her photo to the watch list, and I'll tell the guys to block her number. What if she shows up anyway, makes a scene? Then security will remove her. He took my hands. Lex, I promise you, nothing is going to ruin our day. Not even Hurricane Vanessa. I wanted to believe him, but the image of Vanessa in a white dress, crashing our ceremony with wild accusations, haunted me that night. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and perfect. My mother cried when she helped me into my dress. My father practiced his speech in the bathroom mirror, dabbing at his eyes when he thought no one was looking. My bridesmaids, -1, popped champagne and took selfies as we got ready. There was no sign of Vanessa, no dramatic texts, no mysterious packages, no ominous warnings from friends. Maybe she finally got the message, Morgan suggested as she adjusted my veil. Or maybe she's waiting to object during the ceremony, said my cousin Zoe, always the optimist. Security has her picture, I reminded them, and the ushers know to keep an eye out. Still, as our limo approached the venue, I couldn't help scanning the surroundings for any sign of her. The ceremony site was breathtaking, a cliff overlooking the Pacific, white chairs set up on the lawn, an arch of wildflowers framing the ocean view. Guests were already being seated, cocktails in hand. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect? Stop. Morgan commanded, reading my thoughts. Don't let her ruin this moment. She's not here. She's not going to be here. This is your day. I took a deep breath and nodded. She was right. I refused to let Vanessa occupy any more space in my head. The ceremony began exactly as planned. My bridesmaids processed in their emerald dresses. The string quartet played Pachelbel. My father walked me down the aisle, where Jake waited, looking at me like I was a miracle that had just appeared before him. The vows were perfect. The kiss was perfect. The cheer from our guests when we were pronounced husband and wife was perfect. And most importantly, there was no sign of Vanessa. At the reception, I finally allowed myself to relax. We danced, ate cake, laughed with friends. I kept waiting for something to go wrong, but nothing did, until I went to the ladies' room and found myself face to face with Vanessa. She was standing by the sink, wearing large sunglasses and a headscarf. Like a celebrity trying to be incognito, her disguise hadn't fooled the bathroom attendant, who was frantically texting, presumably security, on her phone. "Congratulations," Vanessa said, her voice oddly flat. "Beautiful ceremony." I stood frozen by the door, adrenaline surging. "How did you get in here?" "I know the catering manager." She shrugged. "Don't worry. I'm not here to cause a scene." "Then why are you here?" She removed her sunglasses, and I was shocked by how terrible she looked. Pale, with dark circles under her eyes. I needed to see it for myself, to see if he really went through with it. I shook my head in disbelief. "Vanessa, Jake never wanted you. Never. Whatever fantasy you've created in your mind isn't real. You don't know everything about us," she insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. "There is no us. There's only Jake and me, and whatever game you've been playing for the past few months, it's over. You lost." Security appeared at the door, two large men in suits who looked both professional and extremely capable of removing unwanted guests. "Ms. Parker," one of them asked me, "is there a problem?" I looked at Vanessa, this sad, delusional woman who had once been my friend, who had been so consumed by jealousy and fantasy that she tried to destroy my happiness. "No problem," I said finally. "Ms. Miller was just leaving. Through the back exit. Please, not past my reception." Vanessa looked like she might argue, but then her shoulders slumped in defeat. "I really did think he loved me," she whispered. "No," I said gently. "You wanted him to love you so badly that you convinced yourself he did. That's not the same thing." She allowed security to escort her out. As she left, she turned back once. "I'm sorry about the venue, and the caterer, and the photographer. That was not my best self. An apology, of sorts. Not that it excused anything she'd done." I returned to the reception, where Jake was looking for me, concern written all over his face. "Everything okay?" The coordinator said Vanessa was here. "She's gone," I assured him. Security removed her. Did she say anything? I considered telling him about her half apology, but decided against it. Nothing worth repeating. He pulled me close. "I'm sorry she put you through all this." "Don't be." In a weird way, I think she did us a favor. "How's that?" I gestured around at our beautiful reception, at our friends and family celebrating, at the team of vendors who had pulled together last-minute miracles, at the love that surrounded us. She tried to break us, and we only got stronger. She tried to ruin our wedding, and instead, we got something even more beautiful than we planned. I smiled up at him. "Plus, we're going to have an amazing story to tell our grandkids someday." Jake laughed and spun me onto the dance floor. "Just maybe leave out some of the crazier details until they're older." "Deal." As we danced under the stars, with the sound of the ocean in the background, I felt a strange sense of gratitude, not for Vanessa's obsession or the chaos she'd caused, but for the clarity it had brought. The past few months had shown me exactly who I could count on, who would stand by me when things got tough, who would fight for happiness. And the answer was all around me, in my new husband, in my family, in our real friends. Sometimes it takes a hurricane to show you how strong your foundations really are. 6 months later, a postcard arrived from Paris. No return address, just a picture of the Eiffel Tower on the front. On the back, in familiar handwriting, "I'm getting help. I hope someday you can forgive me. Wishing you both happiness. V." I showed it to Jake, who raised his eyebrows. "Do you think she means it?" "I hope so." I said genuinely. Everyone deserves a chance to fix their mistakes. Even someone who tried to sabotage our entire wedding. I considered this. Maybe not a second chance with us, specifically, but a second chance at being a better person? Sure. Jake kissed the top of my head. "That's why I love you." Relentlessly optimistic. Not optimistic. I corrected him. Just experienced. After all, we survived a Category 5 Bridesmaidzilla. We can survive anything. And so far we have. The end.